Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Where am I? There I am. Hi, everybody. Jocelyn and Yolanda already in the house. Good to have you here. Boy, I'm looking forward to today's show. And I'll tell you all about it, why, in just a moment. But listen, it is Tuesday. You know what that means? It means we are live. I just had an incredible call with my son, which is always delightful. You know, our grown children are it is interesting to watch their evolution and to watch them grow, change, um, the whole bit. Samantha, hello, it's very good to have you here. Anyway, so I had that privilege of having this conversation with my son. I'm going to keep it private because it was, but I sat there and bawled like a baby because of the wonderful things that he was saying, and how just watching him grow into the man that he's become has just been, it's something every woman understands. These are our mother's hearts, that this is how you feed them, by the way. Martha, hello. Good to have you here. So that happened just a little while ago. And so, I was running, getting in the shower, got out here, and, here I am. I'm clean, which is nice. I'm refreshed, and I've been just like you, we sit there, don't we? Oftentimes, and we're thinking about our families, we're concerned about our children, we are, processing all the different things that we have going on in our lives, and it's really wonderful to be able to take a step back and to say, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of the progress that you've made. I am so proud of the person that you are becoming. And I just want to say too that how important it is for our children, grown or not, to hear that we love them, we approve of them, that we care about them, not for what they've done, but for who they are. You want to hear that too. We all want to hear that. This is the heart of who we are. It is the soul of who we are. And every single person on the planet, that is the confirmation, that is the affirmation that we're looking for, that we're fine just the way we are, that we are enough. And to be able to have this full circle moment, with a child is just something. Anyway, I'm not going to keep talking about it because I'll probably start crying again. It was that kind of a phone call. There have been moments I could look back and tell you those kind of phone calls or those kind of conversations that I've had with my children. And just today, I'm just fresh off of one of those moments. So I just wanted to share that with you because it was so exquisitely important. A lot of things going on, of course, at Saving Dinner. Hello, it is August. We're in the middle of dog days of August, aren't we? And yet I'm sitting here in a sweatshirt because it's cold outside. It's 61 degrees outside and rainy and drizzly and kind of terrible. Hello, this is our weather right now. You tell me what that's all about. I have no idea. Recreate Your Life. It's our book club that gives you an opportunity to glean the wisdom of a lot of different people out there who are sharing their experiences and what have you with us. Quarter 3 is here. I just saying that blows me away. We are going to be doing the next thing is chasing cupcakes. And let me just go on record as saying this, book club or not, if you've ever struggled with any kind of a food issue, this book is for you. this book is for you. That's and we are going to be studying this book starting coming up, and next week I believe is it next week or the week after. The Tuesday is Recreate Your Life, the first one for quarter 3, and it will be Chasing Cupcakes. And there's my mother hen chasing cupcakes. Miss Nancy Weitzel is in the house, also known as Mother Hen, by the way. Love you, Nancy. I'm so glad you're here. Anyway, so Recreate Your Life is, we've been doing it for a couple, have we been doing it really a couple of years or a year and change? I don't know, but it's been a while now. And this particular book really got me. This woman, she really experienced it, and she has a way of really speaking about it. She doesn't mince her words. More of a kind of a journalistic, analytical approach, but also hitting and checking all the boxes of the emotional connection, trauma, all the things. Such a good book. Chasing Cupcakes is book number 1. And then we have 2 other books after that. I can't remember. savingdinner.com/recreate if you want to be a part of our book club. One component of the book club is, we meet with all of these books. We go through all of our books and we meet each time, and we have an opportunity to share insights. We have an opportunity to apply the wisdom of the book into our lives by answering hot seat questions. And it can get a little bit hot, but this is how we grow. We grow by putting in a little extra pressure on ourselves, by allowing for new ideas to come in and somehow germinate, somehow root in and become, that thing. Virginia's turning 69 tomorrow. Happy birthday, Virginia. 69, great year. I mean, the last of the 60s. I think you should celebrate. Cupcakes. Yeah, but don't chase them. Anyway, so that's just a little bit about Recreate Your Life. And if you're interested, I gave you the URL. It's savingdinner.com/recreate. Also, as you know, I am a big proponent of cooling the inflammation. How do we do that? One of the best supplements on the planet is turmeric. And one of the very, very, very best turmeric supplements that I have ever seen and have experienced as well, it's the turmeric that Native Path makes. Their total turmeric. It is amazing stuff. You can check it out at savingdinner.com/turmeric. Great deal on it. Go check it out. If you have inflammation, you should be going to the root of the inflammation, not just covering it up with a bunch of Tylenol or Advil. Sorry, but that's not going to do much for you. What will help quell and cool the inflammation is turmeric. Over 1,800 different studies out there. Did you know that about this? One of the safest things you can take. So, there's so many advantages and benefits to taking this. So check that out at savingdinner.com/turmeric. TUR. Don't forget that R. MERIC. And lastly, but not least, still have people who are saying, oh, the cooking workshops. I like this. Well, we have them bundled up. I like 3 of them in a replay format. You can get those at savingdinner.com/replays with an S. And in it, you're going to get the workbooks that go with it. And you can learn to do a few things, get a bunch of recipes, all the stuff, everything. You can find that at savingdinner.com/replays. Okay. Now, getting on with it. What did Yoda say? Try or try not. What is it? Wait, no, I did it wrong. I said it wrong. Do or do not. There is no try. Okay. I like this a lot. And I also don't like this quote, but it's a good one because, what is it saying? It is basically saying you're either going to get up off the couch and do something about it, or you're not. Saying that I'm going to try is a hesitation, procrastination kind of a remark and statement. And it's putting a barrier between you and your goal. So I like it for that. But I also know too, and this is what I don't like about it, that there is try involved sometimes because we don't know exactly what we're doing. And if we have the guts enough to get up off the couch and to do something, then yeah, okay. Then let's try it. Let's give it a try. Let's go for it. Of course you can do this, Of course you can. Anyway, that's what we have. All right. Now, are you following me on our social media? I hope you are. We have it, obviously Facebook is live here today, facebook.com/saving dinner. But also our TikToks are right now blowing up. And, I opened my TikTok yesterday. I did a couple of TikToks on Sunday, and I opened it up to reply to the comments on Monday morning, and there was 1,100 comments. That makes it really hard, to comment on every single one of those comments, doesn't it? And I couldn't, of course, because I'd still be there right now doing it. That's a lot of comments. But what I found was something that struck a chord with women, and it's something that I'm going to be talking about today because I think this is something really important, regardless of where you are age wise, whether you're getting ready to celebrate your 69th or whether you're getting ready to celebrate your 50th or 55th or whatever birthday it is that you're getting ready to celebrate. And I want to talk about this because there are a lot of people out there. I 100% believe ageism is alive and well, and our culture feeds it. And when you start creeping up in age, oftentimes this dread comes over you as you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to turn, and fill in the blank of whatever age that happens to be, because we have a culture that worships youth. And also, there's a lot of lying about your age and saying, oh, you look good for your age. All of that stuff is this big, huge stew pot, if you will, of ageism and ways in which we separate the sheep and the goats, if you will. Jeanette's here. She said she's a little late, but she made it. Hello, Jeanette. Glad you're here. And I want to talk about this because I believe that we need to change the conversation a little bit about how do we love on one another and give each other the strength and the determination to look at the age that we are and see what can we do now today so that we can be aging fiercely, so that we can be aging in a way that I don't like the word age gracefully. I just think that's kind of a mixed bag. Hi, Catherine. What I like is this idea, and what I embrace personally is this idea that I am facing my aging, both with a plan of attack and also with a great appreciation, because it's a privilege to be able to turn 67, 68, 69, 78, wherever you are on the timeline, so to speak. It is a privilege. And maybe if we start embracing our ages in that way, that this is a privilege to do this, we can start to turn things around a little bit. Now, a couple of things, but I've also thought, if I could go back in time, what would I do? What advice would I give myself at 50? And so that's what started to blow up on TikTok, and they're calling them Big Sister Talks. I did not name them. This is what they're calling them, Big Sister Talks, because I've got 17 years on a 50-year-old, and I could tell him a couple of things. I can tell him a couple of things because one, I've been a nutritionist for 20, whatever, I don't even know how many years, 23 years now. I have lived my life. I've been through, gone to hell and back a couple of times, and have lived through these different experiences, had aha moments all the way through. And so sitting in my chair today, I feel like I have a great advantage of being able to say, hey, wait a minute, I want to tell you something. And I didn't even things I didn't even know 5 years ago or 4 years ago, or things that I've just learned or whatever. And so today I'm going to kind of do the same thing and talk about it as if you are 50, but just take it, if you will, from the point of view of I'm 67, you are where you are, and here's a few things that I have learned along the way. I'm going to use the heart, mind, body, and soul, like the Indian proverb with the four rooms. And the reason I love that so much is because that was one of my aha moments when I turned 60, that we have to stop looking at um, the woman as like, this is your body, this is your mind, we have to look at ourselves synergistically. And that proverb really echoes that whole sentiment. So let's get real here, because 50 isn't that old, is it? But it is a crossroads if you think about what 50 is. If you look back to it, or if you're in that kind of general time zone, 50 is the place where the menopause starts to really come into play. I was 52 when I went into menopause. Some women go in earlier, some go a little bit later, but right into that area of menopause, which they call the change, which I really object to also. I think that's just a dumb thing for saying that this is, it isn't a change. It's a complete turnover, if you will. It is a definite next chapter. It's closing one chapter and opening another. And I don't think we look at it that way. I think what we see is that the book being slammed shut. And I think that's part of it, with also, add in all the stuff with the culture and the, youth worship and all the rest of it. But it is a line between, well, I've still got time to whatever. And, I better start making it count, kind of a thing. And I think that we need to take a look and really appreciate our bodies. This is one of the things that really, really hit me hard, especially when I turned 60, is that this body of mine is all I've got. This body of mine has to get me through the rest, the whole part of my life. And if I am not cautious about it, if my self-care doesn't change, if the way that I take care of myself doesn't change, and I'm talking about my thinking, my mindset, my soul, the whole bit. If I don't do that, I am not going to grow. I am not going to get better. And I am not going to be able to intelligently address certain things that are going on in my life. And if you're like me and you've been to a doctor or, some kind of health professional, and they just want to slap a prescription on you, or they want to just push you out the door and say, it's just this, you're just getting older, or whatever, in your heart of hearts, that's not all it is. If you are here on purpose and for purpose, if you are wonderfully and fearfully made, then there's more to it than just a prescription, isn't there? There's more to it than just somebody just trying to shut you up so they can get on to the next thing. There is more to it. And I'm here to tell you that your worth is more than the size of your jeans, the color of your lipstick. You've heard me say that a million times. But I'm also here to say that if you're not listening to what your body is telling you, then you are being woefully and most importantly, um, deliberately ignorant about what's going on. Your body's always talking to you. So listen, for God's sakes. What do we need? What do we need to do in order to get to this place of not having to always deal with sitting across the desk from some doctor saying, things are just really bad here, and these are the reasons why, and this is what's going on. Why do we need to get to that place? Why can't we have that talk with ourselves? Why don't we trust ourselves enough to have that talk? Now, of course, I'm kind of giving a glossed over look at, the healthcare stuff and whatever. That's a part of it, but also our mindsets. Have you ever been to the place? I have, by the way. This is something that I was thinking about, how I suddenly made a decision to stop listening to my old stories, because my old stories made me miserable. I can live and roll around in my trauma, or I can make a decision to change the story. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But there's just a lot here. And I think that we need to understand, all of us, that we are equipped with the experience and the wisdom from a life well lived, or lived in a way that makes you say, I could do better. But we are in the catbird seat, so to speak, because now we can call different shots. We do not need to be the poster children, if you will, of what not to do in your 50s, or what not to do, today, or whatever it is. We can be women who not only have the experience and the wisdom, but the sense to take that experience and that wisdom and to live it out and to change things up as we go. Because what we once did that didn't work for us then is not going to work for us now. My whole idea of what self-care was back when I turned 60 is completely different now that I'm 67. Changed. My perspective changed. The things that I started researching changed because I had a really acute interest in staying active and staying energetic and staying happy and healthy and not living on doctor's appointments, and rearranging my life around that. I wanted to know, what's the difference? What are the things that move the needle? So if I were to 50 years old, if I could sit down and talk to my 50-year-old self, I'm going to go through a few things that I would talk to her about, because she needs to hear this. Because at 50, she thought, oh my gosh, I just know all these things now. I knew nothing when I turned 50. And I'll probably be saying that when I turned 70 and when I turned 80 and maybe even 90, that I know nothing now. But back then, I thought I had it all pretty much together, and I thought I knew what was going on, but I wasn't even ready or prepared at all for what menopause would do and how I would react to that whole thing. I didn't know enough. And thank God I was, fortunately surrounded with people who were in my health and wellness circle. So, I was fortunate to be able to get onto, hormone therapies early on, and have been for the last 17 years, or no, probably 15. And it's made a huge difference. Estrogen is good for your brain. It's good for your health. It's good for your bones. There's estrogen receptors all over the place, by the way. So it's just interesting how all of that works. But we're going to be talking about just a few things. And I think things that get in the way of us having that fully bloomed life, that vibrancy that we all seek. And if I were talking to my 50-year-old self, one of the first things that I would say is, you need to deal with your heart. And your heart needs to, you need to clear out that emotional clutter, and you need to clear it out fast. Bitterness is anger that has had a chance to age and get really ugly. And it is a bone thief. It absolutely ages you. It holding onto grudges and having this angst about somebody else, or whatever. It's like drinking poison and wishing the other person ill. It just does not work. It just doesn't work. There are times too, I also look back and I think about all the people pleasing that I did at 50, and the emotional clutter that comes with that, and how I wasted so much energy and time on people believing a certain story about me. I always had something to prove, or I always had something to fix, or I always had someone to please. And I spent 90% of my energy on that. So I'd look good, because that was the way I was raised, and it wasn't until much later in life that I finally saw that this doesn't work. Not only doesn't work, but these people aren't giving a hang about me. They're not thinking about me. I'm thinking about them, you know? The insane aspect of this whole thing is just unbelievable. And what I would do is I would set boundaries like my life depends on it because my life does depend on it. And the vibrancy of my life depends on those boundaries. And when people run all over you and take advantage of you, it is because they can. And it's because we are wasting our time on things that completely drain us of our energy. So the bottom line is, protect your peace like you would protect your child. It is that simple. And protecting your peace, you know, fiercely without apology is your divine right. And it's one of the ways in which you have an opportunity to cut off that energetic suck, take that energy back, and then use it for the good that you were brought into this world to do. Does that make sense? Because when we are wrapped up in all this other garbage, we are not at service, for God. We're not here to just, tap dance for someone. I always get that cartoon in my mind, of Quick Draw McGraw, like having his feet, gunned down and he's doing the little dance. Don't do that for anyone. It's not worth it. And then in my mind, I'd rewrite my story. I've told you that before because, a lot of times you think I said this at 50. Oh my gosh, I'm just so old now. It's too late to start over, or, I just got to keep going on. I should have had this all figured out by now. Why me? Or, well, I guess maybe this is just how things are. It's sort of a giving up on yourself. And the thing is that this is old habitual thinking because none of those things are facts. You know, our habits and the way that we think, we believe everything that we think, and that's just not healthy. We should be analytical about the way we think, just as we're analytical about the way other people think and about what they're telling us and what they're saying to us. So we practice believing loud thoughts that don't necessarily make sense. They don't serve us in any capacity. They don't make our lives better or anybody else's life better. And they button us down and keep us small. Have you noticed that? And it's habitual. This is what we do. We just like shut it all down. If I could do it over again, I would say to my 50-year-old self, let's retrain your brain. Let's make new neural pathways in your brain. Let's get on that. I started that at 60. I recognized and saw myself as shutting things down all the time. I always had an answer. Oh, it's just not going to work for me. Oh, that's for somebody else, not for me. Oh, I was just lucky. Why don't we start the rewiring work? I don't care how old you are. You can rewire your brain. I don't care where you are and what you're thinking about at your age or whatever. If you are still drawing breath, you have the opportunity to retrain your brain. It's one of the reasons why I am a nut about continuously learning. I am a lifetime learner. I read books. I'm going to go do a deep dive on something. I'm going to learn something about myself. I will say the affirmations. I will write in my journal. I'll do the rewiring stuff. I'll do the breathing. I'll do the tapping. I'll do the meditations. What is it going to take? And if we look at it that way, we can start to see I'm just running outdated software. And in order to get over to this part of what I want in my life, I need to reboot. I need to do updated software. My computer, I had to buy a new computer. My computer wouldn't work anymore because it didn't update anymore. It was running on old programs, and old programs will not serve you if they're going too slow. If you know what I'm talking about here. You have to update your internal narrative. You have to. You have to speak life over yourself. You have to remember that at any given time, regardless of what you think might be happening or whatever, Your brain is always listening to you, and everything that you say is a command to your brain. Your brain has no moral compass, none. It doesn't say, "Why would you do this?" It's not going to argue with you. It's just going to say, "Your thoughts, we're going to make it happen." You think you're stupid? Okay. I'm going to give you 10 more reasons why you should think you're stupid or worthless or whatever it is that you are saying or thinking, because that's what your brain does. It's going to use the reticular activating system to bring in the evidence to support the things you're thinking. That's how brilliant your brain is. But you are the one who gets to do the training. So train it. Don't just complain about it. Don't just complain about your lot in life. Start doing things differently and start with the thing that you can control and understand how that brain of yours works. It's a game changer. It is a complete 100% game changer. And this is how you make your dreams come true. This is how you bring in the things that you want into your life. This is how you change your particular activating system to go after the good stuff and to bring it in. And I am living proof of that over and over again. I've done it through my life, but after 60, bingo, it really started to happen even more. And it was only because I understood the importance of changing my internal narrative. It was only because I started to understand the importance of what I was saying to myself quietly and out loud was going to have repercussions in my life. And what did I want? The good ones or the bad ones? Now, number 3 is my body. If I could talk to my 50-year-old self, I would say, stop piddling around with your fitness. Stop it. It's just dumb. It's neglect. Your body needs to move. Your body needs to have its muscles tested and resisted against in order to protect your bones. You know, there is a doctor, golly, I can't think of her name right now. Can see her in my head. But she is an orthopedic surgeon, and she's done a TED Talk that was just really intense about lifting heavy things and all the rest of it. But the whole thing is she's talking about bones in women and what happens when osteoporosis sneaks in and all this other kind of stuff. And she's put together a lot of women's broken hips who have fallen. And she said it's basically like putting screws into sponges. And it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah, it's easy to say, "Oh, it's just genetic. My mother had osteoporosis and so do I." But what lifestyle intervention did your mom have besides sitting on the couch or going to Gloria Marshall like my mom or whatever, you know? My mom was just a bag of toothpicks and easily broken. And within a week of breaking her hip, she was dead. This is and this is what happens. Of course, I mean, she was very ill with other stuff and what have you, and you know that whole story. But the point of the matter is that our bodies need to be protected. We lose our muscle mass after 41% to 2% every year. That muscle mass is protectant of those bones. We need to get our bones in working order. We need to take that collagen. We need to eat that protein. We need to do some kind of jumping exercise to keep the bone that is going to help the bone to get stronger and stronger. And we need to lift heavy things. This is our metabolic engine. And if we aren't doing that kind of work, then we're sitting there and we're losing muscle mass, and we're losing muscle mass being replaced with fat. And the muscle that we do have is it just full of fat as well, and that's really hard on your body. It's a metabolic breakdown. You have to fight to keep it. And you have to do these things in a way that says, "I'm serious." And I'm not talking about going to like Gold's Gym and crushing your spinal column trying to, do a squat. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about understanding how your body works and becoming a student of it, and becoming a student of your aging body And what does that mean about skeletal health? What does that mean about muscular health? What does all of this mean? Because at the end of the day, you don't have a choice but to live in that body. Nobody's going to give you an out. Nobody's going to say, come over to my house and we'll just trade you out for a new, fresher brand. It's not going to happen, you know, just not going to happen. Everything that you do in this life is going to be done within the container of your body. So if you're just sitting on it and sitting on it and sitting on it and doing nothing for it, it's not going to give you anything back. It has to have what it needs. And if we're going to rev our metabolic engines, if we are going to be healthy, if we're going to get into this next 10, 20 years and look at our lives and go, you know what? I feel good. I'm energetic. I'm going to go do all these things and do them. Then we darn well better take care of our bodies. And these are some of the things that we need to do. Also with your soul, the last one, of course, I would only connect with the things that make me feel fully whole. So I believe that everybody inside of them has a quiet ache, a whisper that says, there's more for you out there. There's something else. I think it's up to you to be listening. Your intuition and your soul, I believe, are intermingled. And inside of you is that voice, if you will listen. You know, we need to focus on our health and our habits and our mindset and all the rest of it. But we also need to look at what is it that lights us up? What is it? What is that thing that creates the spark that makes us think, that's just so me. That's so right on. And then we also need to be looking and saying, well, what have I put on hold for all these years? You know, I raised these children, I had this husband, I did all these things, and my career was this or whatever. What have you put on hold? What if you just said, well, someday I'll come back to it? Do you even remember what it is? Well, you will remember what it is if it's something that make you lose track of time. And I'm not talking about scrolling on your phone, okay? We have to look at it from this perspective. And that is that our wellness without wonder is just a routine. Just a routine, just something that we do. Wonder and curiosity fuels passion and imagination and uh, just a desire to live a big full life. And I will say this, that there's just nothing vibrant or magnetic about being numb and just quiet and feeling suppressed. Your soul is the place, is the spark of all the things that make you click. So listen to it. Listen to what's going on inside. Ask yourself the deep questions. Get into your journal and start scratching some things out. And we just need to look at, the things that feed our soul, the books, the Bible reading, teachings, the whatever it is that is exquisitely your cup of tea that warms your soul. Do it and do more of it and allow it to plant the seed to what's next, because there's always something next. And if you are dedicated to being a lifetime learner, your soul has a lot to teach you, if only you would listen. So the last thing that I want to say is that I think that people oftentimes fear aging, and there's just every time somebody turns, the next number or whatever, it's hush hush or not telling my age or oh my gosh, you could go to a Hallmark store and read some of the nasty cards about, however old you are. But I will say that your aging isn't something to fear, but ignoring your power is. And your power is in who you are, not the number that comes with your age. It is not the color of your lipstick. It is not the size of your jeans. And it is not what it says on your driver's license about how old you are. None of these things matter. What matters is the way you go about embracing every single aspect of your life with as much vibrancy as you possibly can, with as much enthusiasm as you can possibly muster. It's stopping the waiting. Now is the time. And I will say, time isn't running out. It's asking you, what are you going to do with what it is that you have? It is. And if we look at it that way, that's a whole different level of what self-care, in my opinion, is. Self-care like that is wisdom, experience. It's getting better. It's evolving. It's creating the new and getting rid of the old. It's becoming the woman you're meant to be. And it's never too late. That's one thing that I know for sure. It is never too late. So what I would say to you now is, my friends who are 50 and whatever age you are, go out and live your life. Go out and do all the things that you want to do. Go out and become the woman that you have been called to become, and have the guts to do it. Because I will tell you, on the other side of that is a life well lived. Alrighty, that's all I have for you today. I sure appreciate you. Thank you all for showing up and for being a part of our show today. I appreciate it. And if you have any questions about anything or whatever, you can always send it in an email to support@savingdinner.com. Any questions about any of our supplements or anything that we're doing, you'll find it all there. All right. Thank you again. Appreciate you. Peace be with you. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.